push go, and then we'll, we'll edit.
Good to go.
Little caption that says "Buy shit from Suarez." Okay, all right. So we pattern at 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, 25. They give you an idea of what your shotgun will do. Okay, now two things that we need to address. One is the nature of the buckshot. There's a lot of degrees in quality. Not only that, but also attributes to the ammunition itself. Traditionally, the shotgun training world has wanted to constrict and tighten the pattern as much as possible. I think that's a mistake. We don't want to be firing what in essence is a single projectile out of the weapon from zero distance all the way out to 100 yards or whatever. What we want to take advantage of what the shotgun will do to us. So we don't want necessarily a tight pattern. What we want is a predictable pattern, so that we have an understanding at each given distance what that pattern is going to give us. All right. Now, if your mission calls for a tight pattern, can you select ammunition that'll give you that? Absolutely. If your mission calls for a little bit looser pattern, you can do the same thing. We have a couple of examples here of disparity in ammunition choices. And you can move the camera around and stuff if you want. Okay, so we got this one over here, and this is what, flight control?
Yes.
Okay,
right.
There's a lot of similar ammo types. The pattern is impacting pretty much over here. Now we had one that kind of drifted out here. And we talked about that. You're basically shooting with a bead on there. This is not a factor of the spread of the pattern, but a factor of inconsistency in aiming. All right, now a lot of guys they're sort of against putting RMRs and rifle sights and all this sort of thing on shotguns, saying, "Oh, that's stupid. Why would you do that?" Well, what the rifle sights, whether they're ghost ring or standard Remington rifle sights, and the RMRs and red dots and various things, what they'll do to you, they're not going to tighten your pattern, but they'll give you a more consistent way of aiming the weapon. Again, for hunting and sporting applications, you may not really be all that concerned about consistencies in aiming, but for self-defense, anti-personnel uses, that consistency in aiming is a huge matter. So, but anyway, so we have an example of that. I mean, we addressed that. I don't think that you would have had this result if you had rifle sights or an RMR on that. But very nice tight pattern. If this is what you need, this is a good choice. You guys were talking about that one hostage shot. I think it was in San Diego, where an officer, shot a hostage taker with a shotgun. I think it was about 7 yards, give or take. More than likely using this type of ammunition with a consistent way to aim it. All right, you have both of those things, and now you have a really dangerous weapon. Okay, let's look at this one over here. Now, again, traditional shotgun people would look at this and go, "Oh my God, that's terrible." No, it's not terrible. All right, now you have an RMR on yours, so it gives you consistency of aiming, and the pattern is pretty much centered up on the target, so you don't have a pattern up here and then a secondary pattern down below. But you do see a very very clear expansion of the pattern. What ammo is that you're using?
S&B.
Just S&B, just basically regular buckshot, nothing special about it. This is what you can kind of expect from buckshot. Okay, now, is this less desirable than this? Depends on the mission. Exactly. Okay. Now I'll tell you, back in law enforcement, I took some shots that probably today most people would say maybe they wouldn't fire. Bad guy running through a parking lot shooting a Glock 21 at us. Okay, because I had a pattern like this and not like this, I was able to hit him with a handful of pellets and then follow up with a second shot. But only having a spread like this allowed me to get any hits at all, because there was no way, even if I would have had a loophole 10 power scope on that thing, because of the dynamics of that fight, there was no way that I was going to be able to stop and aim and all this other kind of stuff. So the pattern of the shotgun, as long as you understand what it'll do, it'll give you the ability to hit under circumstances where traditional marksmanship principles and single projectile weapons, they wouldn't allow you to get any hits whatsoever. So would you have a more difficult time under those circumstances with this? Probably. Okay, but then again, if you were going to take a shot on that hostage in San Diego, this might make it a little bit difficult for you. Okay, now how do you mitigate that? If you know your pattern. So at 3 yards, this was your pattern over here. Okay, at 5 yards, it expanded a little bit more. What do? Well, because you know your shotgun and your ammunition, you know, you can compress the distance a little bit and deal with it within your capability. So it all is about knowing your weapon and the ammunition. If you have a multiple kind of issue with a mission where, you know, you may need some of this and you may need some of this, you can certainly have a couple of different types of ammo with you, as long as you know what they are and you can tell them apart very easily. You know, if you're going to have two different types of buckshot, I'm not saying don't do that, but don't use the same kind. You should be able to pick one up in your hand, and without having, excuse me, without needing to look at it, you should be able to tell what it is by the way the case feels, whether it's high brass or low brass, what it feels like in front, and all that sort of thing. So you need to have a tactile way to tell the difference between your ammunition, especially slugs. Okay? All right, now, are there any questions from you guys? Because I know there were while we were, you know, patterning and walking back and everything else. Let's go ahead and ask them now.
9 pellet versus 12.
Okay, so you know, there's a lot of discussion out there. You've got 9 versus 12 pellets in buckshot. 12 pellet buckshot, you're going to know that you fired that. That's what we used to use back in law enforcement days. Does it give you any advantage over 9 pellet? No, it doesn't. It just beats you up more. If I was using double-aught, I would probably use the 9 pellet and never look back. If you want a greater degree of spread, there's also, well, not degree of spread, but more pellets in a payload, maybe with a little bit greater degree of spread. I know number 1 buckshot is available. I've seen 15 pellet configurations. There's also number 4 buckshot, which you can get up to, I think, with 34 pellet configuration. Now, here's the thing, guys. For pistol grip onlys, number 4, 34 pellet, reduced recoil, got a lot of advantages going for it for the genre of that particular weapon genre, for the mission that's going to be used for. And we have some. We'll probably do a little bit of shooting with it to give you an understanding of what that's like.
Again?
Other questions? Yeah.
Number 4 on this target.
Okay, let's go take a look. Okay, second next one. Oh, this next one? Okay. All right. Okay, so this is number 4. Now again, you know, you've got good you know, aiming system on there. Now look at this pattern over here. Okay. And again, guys, well, you know, some of them are off the target. Don't worry too much about that. Okay, so what do you think?
Gonna hurt.
I think he's going to have a pretty good day, and I'm going to have a bad one. That's the litmus test of this stuff. Okay. So yeah, 34 pellet, I believe, right?
Here's the what is it, 1546 or Bravo or whatever?
Yeah. And I mean, you know what? This is a good pattern. Now, the one thing that number 4 is not going to do as well as buckshot is penetrate. Okay. So, but again, you know, what's your mission? Is your mission require more penetration or less penetration? What are the dynamics of the fight? Are they going to be in full light or reduced light? So you have to take all those in consideration before you select your ammunition. But this is a good example of what a PGO shotgun can do. You know what? Out to 7 yards, this is basically death in one trigger press. Can you imagine taking this in the chest? I mean, you know, there's nothing to discuss. Even out to 10 yards. When you start getting out to 15 and 20, primarily because you don't have that secondary anchor point that you would, secondary and tertiary anchor points that you would get when you have, you know, the stock or stock analogy, and there's a lot of movement there. That can be mitigated by the addition of sights on the weapon itself. Incidentally, if you're working with a PGO, the standard rifle sights are good, ghost rings are not. Ghost rings require your face to be in the same spot every time. That's not going to happen with one of those pistol grip only deals. Okay? Anything else?
What about energy transfer of the number 4 to the versus the larger pellets?
You know what? That we could get into a 3-hour discussion on that. You know, all of these are going to hurt and they're going to kill. The mechanisms that they use, they are different, and you can take advantage of those characteristics depending on your mission. But I think, we're talking about energy transfer with a 12 gauge. I mean, it's like it's killing a fly with a sledgehammer.
There was a question about point of aim with rifle sights.
Okay, right. Point of aim. So here's what I would do when you're zeroing your shotgun. You want to be able to hit with slugs, so you want to zero for the slugs. Okay. Then you want to make sure, hopefully, that your buckshot is going to be in the same general point of aim. Okay. Probably going to happen. If not, then there's things we can do to address that. That's how I would zero it. Now, as far as point of aim, it's the same as your pistol. If you're using a dot, you put the dot dead center of where you want to hit, dead center of the chest. If you're using the ghost ring sight, same, the circle and the point, dead center of the chest. If you're using the rifle sights, front sight, rear sight configuration, same thing. Take that alignment, dead center of the chest. That's going to be the easiest to use under duress, under stress. Trying to do, the traditional lollipop thing. Here's my sight, here's my target. That may be really good for target shooting and marksmanship, but it's not going to be good for self-defense shooting. Okay, other questions? Okay, good to go. All right, so we're at